Hey, grace and peace, everybody. We're back. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title. Let's go ahead and talk about the Lindsay Clancy trial. And something I don't hear many people talk about, especially not on the pro supporting Lindsay crazy train. I don't hear many people talking about the children. What about the kids? What about the actual children that are no longer here? Okay, I got you. You want to show empathy and sympathy, and you're concerned about Lindsay. But what about the kids, the actual children? 3 little people that are no longer here because of the actions of their mother. Forget what you heard. Stop with the fan fiction. Stop that. It's her mom, their moms that did it. So let's bring this video in. I thought it was super interesting. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Of course, jump down in the comments. I'm going to be talking about what I think about it as well. So let's go with no further ado. Let's go.
And I guess that's because everyone's talking about the Lindsay Clancy trial on their shows. And I just don't know that I can add anything to it because I'm not, first of all, just to be frank, I'm not a mother, right? And so a lot of what's happening in the Lindsay Clancy trial has to do around, postpartum depression, for instance. So she killed her 3 kids, but she also had a ton of psychotic issues with postpartum, was on a whole bunch of different medications. And so the question is is she guilty of murder or is she not guilty by reason of mental insanity? And it has gotten a lot of women across the country really fired up and showing up dressed in pink outside the trial, weeping tears for Lindsay Clancy while not really saying anything about her murdered children as much, which seems a little insensitive, certainly. Tiffany Smiley, who's now kind of become a pundit on some of the network news channels, but she ran for United States Senate in Washington State, and she's also a mother of 3. She posted this on X. "My heart breaks for Lindsay Clancy. I hate that it took a tragedy like this to talk about women's mental health and postpartum depression. Too often it is swept under the rug. Our healthcare system has failed women. Many women are given the baby, told good luck, and thrown out on the street. These are real issues that impact tons of new moms, and it can lead to psychosis that gets worse with each child. The only way it changes is by addressing a healthcare system that is overwhelmed and inaccessible." Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, that first sentence, "my heart breaks for Lindsay Clancy,"
what about the children, though?
which was not followed up by "my heart also breaks for her 3 dead children," has not gone over very well on the X. Not very well at all. She is getting ratioed to high heaven. But first, let's actually listen to what Tiffany Smiley said in her interview on Fox News.
So when I first started, paying attention and looking into this case, it actually broke my heart for everyone involved in this. And I hate that it takes something like this to have a real conversation about women's mental health and postpartum depression, because it is a real thing.
Yeah, so she says in there, it broke my heart for everyone involved. And so a little more context in the actual words she spoke on Fox News. But look, the post was bad. It absolutely was bad. I mean, it has 7.2 thousand replies and only 500 likes. So when you talk about ratios, I guess that's kind of as bad as it gets. Here is a sampling of some of the responses. Spencer Pratt said, "I think most normal people's hearts break for the 3 defenseless toddlers she strangled to death and the father who found them face down in the basement. I could be wrong, though." Jasmine Keith, "My heart breaks for those babies that watch their own mothers squeeze the life from their tiny bodies, because those are the real victims, along with the husband that had his world shattered. Lindsay took that from all of them." Let's see, Will Chamberlain, "My heart breaks for her children and their father." Lauren Chen, "Not a single mention of the 3 children who Lindsay strangled." So a lot of responses like that. And I actually think it would be good to have Tiffany Smiley on the show. We'll ask Tiffany to come on. And again, I'm not a mom, so I've never given birth. I've never been through postpartum anything.
Okay.
And with what I know about the case, I mean, I don't disagree that she clearly was in a very bad mental state. And it's my opinion that there was enough there that someone should have intervened and made sure that she was nowhere near those children in a position to hurt them. And so is by law, is she not guilty by reason of insanity? What does that mean? I haven't sat through every single day of the trial. I can't say for sure, but I know that if I'm expressing sympathy, it's probably first and foremost going to be for the innocent toddlers whose lives were choked out of them. And so I think that's sort of where the misstep is coming. You have so many of these women who are expressing all this sympathy for Lindsay Clancy when she still did something absolutely horrific and inexcusable. And so I think some of that sympathy comes off very strange indeed.
You know, and she's right on the button. Shout out for sure, because what about the kids? Okay, fine. You feel some kind of way about Lindsay. You have empathy because of postpartum. I got you. You understand that this cocktail of drugs she's on. Okay, but she killed children. Why is your heart not broken for the deletion of children? And I personally believe it's because these women don't want to be held accountable. They don't want accountability to enter the chat at all. They want to remain unaccountable. And by them saying that Lindsay Clancy was wrong, that's too much akin to saying that she's guilty, or that's too much akin to saying she has to take responsibility for her own actions, which is something they don't want to do. Okay, I got another quick video I want you to look at as well.
Lindsay Clancy case, I thought, pretty cut and dry. She sent her husband on an errand and then killed her 3 children. Death penalty. And then I saw about half the women on the internet coming to her defense, and I thought, okay, is there something I'm missing here? So I asked my wife what she thought. And my wife, who's a very reasonable and rational woman, said, well, if you look at her diary entries, there's a reason why a lot of women can sympathize with the feeling of being overwhelmed or failing as a wife and a mother, because your hormones can go nuts after having kids. When you also look at the various medical providers she had and the fact that she was on a strange cocktail of 13 different types of drugs, from antidepressants to mood stabilizers, et cetera, you can also suggest that that's probably a bad thing and something to consider. However, this is the part where my wife is a reasonable and rational person. She still sent her husband on an error while she systematically strangled the life out of her 3 children, and that's evil and deserves to be punished. So one can have sympathy for these other things while still making sure that the preponderance of your sympathy goes to the children who were murdered. By the way, for the women out there that think the husband actually did it, because after all, he's a Gemini, and we all know how they are. Yeah, right. You shouldn't be allowed to vote. In fact, you probably shouldn't be allowed to walk outside without a helmet.
I have to agree with this wholeheartedly. Her defense is arguing that she had undiagnosed bipolar disorder and postpartum psychosis that they claim was missed by a cast of rotating providers. Now, prosecutors dispute this because she acted rationally, intentionally, and swiftly. She asked her husband to go run errands to have him leave the home. What got my attention was the response from women online. Some women, because I'm a woman and there's no way in the world you will catch me holding my baby saying, "Me too, Lindsay." Someone get CPS on the line. Notice what's completely absent from these videos. There's no emotion for the children whose lives she took. Real grief for a tragedy centers the victims. This trend on social media is centered around the participants' performance, not the children who are no longer with us. Lindsay's ex-husband actually publicly forgave her and sued the medical providers instead. And yet these women have decided to blame him for what happened to his children, as if he did not also lose his children. This is a pattern I'm seeing where people don't want to actually look at the facts of a situation or a tragedy. They just want to publicly virtue signal to have proximity to it. This is a culture that has lost the ability to hold 2 truths at one time. Yes, mental illness is real. 2, 3 children have just lost their lives. Violently, might I add. And neither fact should be allowed to erase the other. They cannot hold compassion for someone with a mental health struggle without centering themselves around it while holding their own children and suggesting that should they do the same, they would have an entire group of women who will gladly back financially support them and publicly excuse their behavior. I go into greater detail on this topic and many others over on my Substack. You can click the link in my bio to join my community.
All right, shout out for sure. I just thought that was, just a reminder that, what about the children? Don't make it about you. Don't make it about your opinion about Lindsay. What about mourning and weeping for the children? So real quick, just want to bring this in, is Matthew chapter 18. A lot of people have heard this mentioned, and I just want to remind us that we're supposed to take care of children. Man, children are supposed to be taken care of by the adults. The big people are supposed to take care of the little people. Who's the greatest? At that time, the disciples came to Jesus saying, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened to his neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. And I really don't want us to miss the fact that children are a blessing from the Lord, and we are supposed to, it is supposed to be our pleasure as parents to protect them, to guide them, direct them, help raise them in the fear and admonition of the Lord so that they can go out and do the same thing, wash, rinse, and repeat. And what Lindsay Clancy did was deplorable. There's no way around it. And the idea that we don't stop and think about the children that she killed, but we're twisting ourselves into these pretzels over what she did, I think that goes to show like we've lost the plot. And I pray that we can find it again. Let me know what y'all think. Comment down below. Give me your 2 cents. Do you agree with this? What verse would you have rather I called out or pointed out? Let me know. Comment down below. I'm looking forward to reading what you have to say. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much again. Grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.